ready?
Yep.
You look good. But yeah, we went through a couple transitions in our time with being together where, you get to a point where you're just getting on each other's nerves and you either argue it out or you just don't talk. If you caught any of the notes in our last video, I was usually, or am usually the guy that usually.
You're thinking in your eyes on the video.
Well, I can't do all that. What we gonna do? All right. You
didn't wash your face?
Wash my face. You saw something in my eye.
All right, come on, baby. Come on.
But yeah, like I got the tendency to do both. Like, we could talk about it, argue it out, but I had a stronger tendency to ignore, and or just not say anything, or just go over in my little corner and say, you know what, this will just come out when it comes out. But talk to him. How'd that make you feel?
I'm the type of person who needs communication. At least throughout the day. Like, I need communication throughout the day. So when I do something to make him mad, and it would be like the littlest things, right? Like, I remember one day you didn't talk to me for the whole day because we had an argument because I feel like he was born and raised in Albany, so I feel like you should know the whole Albany. So he would go like the longest way ever. Like, it sounds so stupid, right? So he would go the longest way ever, and I would be like, well, why didn't you take that other street? And he'd be like, well, what other street? And I'm like, you know the street. You live in Albany. You grew up here. You know everything about here. Why do I have to explain to you? Like, this is how petty it was. So I'm like, why do I have to explain to you what street I'm talking about? You should have known what street I was talking about when I said it the first time. So so we kind of just didn't talk to each other for the rest of the ride home, which was super weird. So we get home and he does not talk to me at all. Like, he's ignoring me. He's on his computer doing design work, like completely ignoring the crap out of me for the whole day. I ended up going to work that night and he texts me. And what'd you say in the text? You said something like, something about you can't go the whole day without talking to me or something like that. And I'm like, you just went the whole day not talking to me about something so petty. And I just thought that it was like the littlest thing ever. And we didn't talk to each other for the whole day. Anything could have happened. And that's my thing. And he always says, stop saying that. But I'm always saying, like, anything could happen. Why would you not talk to me for the whole day over something so petty? So that's something else that we had to work through in our relationship. Like, just being, you're allowed to be upset about things, but I think that at some point there needs to be a discussion, and not that there needed to be a whole therapeutic discussion about him going the wrong direction. But I think that not talking the whole day because of that is something so small, and it's something that we could have just worked through with just an apology. Maybe I could apologize for, I should have apologized. No, but like, I feel like maybe, I don't know, maybe there was no apology needed, but I think that we could have had a discussion versus not talking to each other for 10 hours because of a miscommunication with directions, which was super weird.
She's exaggerating. More than 10 hours.
It was the whole day, baby. It was definitely the whole day. You didn't text me until like midnight.
Yeah, I was late. Well, I could say the first thing, it definitely takes some time to grow out of something like that. It's like more ego. Who wants to be told that they're going the wrong way or something like that, or even that you take the wrong way? I got the tendency to be on autopilot sometimes, where I'm just driving. It happens, it just happens sometimes. And yeah, it is multiple ways to go to get through Albany, and you can go here.
But I think it's less about the actual incident, right?
Can I finish this?
No, but you about to explain about. Babe, he about to explain about. Yes,
you had your time.
Babe, you about to explain about the whole incident.
Stop trying to predict what I'm gonna do.
Okay, I'm sorry.
But now, what I was just saying, and I'm brought back to my point. It was definitely more about ego at that time. But also, it's just like a lady has a way of saying certain things, or it's I used to tell all the time, like, listen, you can get any message across to me, but it just depends on how you say it. So, you know, like something she did mention a few minutes ago with her being from Yonkers, and, you know, they pretty much laugh their way through everything, her and her mom. They think that everything's funny, and everything ain't funny all the time. There's certain stuff
that's because he's
serious.
Mr. Serious, like serious Sam over here, like because
she laughs at everything, like everything's not funny, you know. So
I know I do laugh at the wrong times sometimes, like. When we one time we had a really crazy argument and I was laughing and he put his shoes on and was about to leave out the door because I was laughing, and it wasn't a laugh because I thought the situation was funny. It was like a nervous thing, like when you're nervous and you're just laughing because you're just like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. But I also wanted to talk about apologizing, because I think that growing up, we only experienced like toxic apologizing, like where our parents, for instance, would be like, all right, dinner's ready, or
just never apologize.
Well, yeah, just like
never say she was
sorry. Just never apologizing. So that was something that, like, you have to be extremely vulnerable and humble yourself to apologize. So you have to just think like, I mean, it makes your toes curl sometimes, like, because it's just something that we're not used to. So breaking old habits, that's what we can talk about. So, like, sometimes, like, I don't want to apologize. Like, it just makes my toes go like this because you just don't want to. But I think over time, I've become more open to it. Like, I've become more readily.
You started to hold yourself more accountable for your actions and how that affected other people. And that's a big thing. Like in today's time, a lot of people, I'm not going to genderize it between male and female, just a lot of people don't hold themselves accountable for the things that they do. And it's like society kind of sets it up that way, where we got certain avenues we could travel down as man and woman where we don't feel like we need to be apologetic about things. And we're not going to get into the knickknacks of that, but that's where, if you paid attention to the last episode, she alluded to me calling her an anomaly. And this is like breaking those generational curses where, you know, it's just your time, thinking about what you did and what you said and how to make things better. And this is something that we repeatedly do. We do come back to each other through that vulnerability and ask each other like, hey, what can I do to be a better person for you? And that's a big thing. Like, that's humility and vulnerability on one side. And it's also like, you know, responsibility for the other person to receive that. You know what I'm saying? Like, so yeah, she started to hold herself more accountable for certain things, and I started to find faster ways home. Most of the time. Still going the wrong way sometimes.
So what about you? What do you think? Did you think that apologizing was easy for you? Do you feel like it's easier?
Nah, I mean, it's definitely easier now. In the beginning, no, it wasn't. It was one of those things like, what am I apologizing for? Like, you don't feel like you did anything wrong. But perspective, like, you know, you start putting yourself in the other person's shoes, and you start to see how they see it, or you really just start to listen to what they say, because they'll tell you how they feel if you're listening. And I really started to listen and pay attention to what she was saying. And it was like a breakthrough in the car one day. We was pulling up in front of the house, and like, she got animated. She got upset. And normally, like, she don't get upset about much. Like, that's not her personality. So when she did, I'm like, and I'm ready to snap back. Like, you know, my energy rising too. And I'm like, all right, let me calm down and just listen to what she's saying. That took a lot. But that was a breaking moment right there where, like, I put my own feelings aside. And I really started to understand what she was saying, and that energy came right back down. And then we was able to talk, like, you know, peacefully. And
I think. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No.
I think it was because I'm extremely passive. Like, I'm the type of person that'll say, like, if it starts to get confrontational, I'm gonna say like, oh, never mind, just forget about it. Yeah. So like, I'm extremely passive. So I think that you didn't realize how much things affected me. Until I had that moment where I was just like extremely confrontational and was like, no, you need to listen, where I raised my voice and all of that. So it kind of changed things, where I think it was a switch moment where you were like, okay, well, I need to start really valuing how things affect her. Like, really start valuing her emotions and the things that she says. Because even if she doesn't say it in a way that's assertive, she still means it.
Right.
Because I was so passive, and I'd be like, oh, I don't really, I'd say something to him, and if he combated it anyway, I'd be like, oh, never mind, like, don't worry about it, you know? So then when we had that breakthrough moment where I was just like, no, you need to listen, like, and I was super animated, and I didn't even give him an opportunity to say anything, because every time he said something, I kind of like went into a shell, like, all right then. But that's why I think it's just important to just use your voice, be assertive. You don't have to be disrespectful.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's one thing that I love about us, like the amount of respect that we have for each other.
Confrontation.
Yeah, like commands the respect of the other, right?
Yes.
So because he respects me so much, I never want to raise my voice at him because it makes me feel bad about it. Like it makes me feel like he would never do that to me, so why would I do that to him? So I think that's like divine feminine and divine.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
It's another thing you started to do, right? She does have those tendencies where she just like, forget about it. I don't want to talk about it no more. So what I do, no, we're not gonna forget about it.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about it. So I'll reiterate the question, or like I'll because like it's human nature. We got the tendency to cut each other off, and if it happens too often, like you see the energy change. So then like recently, like again, progression, growth. She said something, and it was just like, you know what, just forget about it. Like, nah, you know what, I'm sorry. I'm gonna sit back and listen. And I would sit back and listen to everything that she had to say. And you get to a point, sometimes you don't really need to respond because like your questions and what she was getting to her point. But yeah, just commanding that respect and actually listening to the person. That's wisdom. When you're listening versus looking to say something.
To respond. And that's something that we also discussed for a while. Remember, because I'd be like, I feel like you're waiting to respond versus listening.
I still do that sometimes.
Yeah, I feel like I can see his wheels turning. Like I can like I'll say something and I'll be talking for maybe 4 or 5 minutes and I can see his wheels turning from the first 30 seconds. So I'm like, there's no way he's possibly listening after that thing that made his mind start going, because I can see his wheels turning and I'm like, there's no way you're listening at this point. Like, because I can see you thinking of what to say, and then he would respond to the thing that I said in the beginning. So I know he wasn't listening to the whole thing. But you've gotten so much better with that. And sometimes you'll even catch yourself. Like if you start responding while I'm in the middle of saying something, I'll let you talk, because that's just, I don't know why I do that. Yeah. So I'll let you talk, and you'll talk for a while, and then I'll see you be like, all right, babe, I'm sorry. What was you saying? Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, but
growth, I love that.
it's a process. It's a process. Not in terms of communication, like we came a long way. We came a long way. Like she was saying before, like we pause the movie, we sit back and talk, and it's always a different point to communicate about certain things. And I love that. I love the fact that I can come to her with almost anything, and even if it's something she doesn't know, like particularly anything about, she'll ask questions, and it still adds value there. And then she'll come back, like to certain things to that point. Like, remember we was talking about this, and it's like, oh wow, yeah. So communication is everything.
And that's because I have a research mind. That's me. Like, my mind is research everything. I'm never a take what people say. Even it can be the most intelligent, most intelligent person in the room, and I'll just be like, whoa. Just because you articulated that perfectly doesn't mean it's correct, and I need to research. And sometimes I'll be in the middle of him talking, I'm like, hold up, so who you said that? And did you research that? Like, I always say, like, especially when there's things that really matter, really makes a difference in other people's lives or our lives, or just like the Black community, or just like women, or anything, Black men, Black children, anything that really makes a difference. I want to know where's your source, because I feel like he's extremely intelligent, and a lot of people know that. A lot of people hold on to your words like their Bible or whatever. So like, I feel like a lot of people hold on to the things that he says. So I want what he said. I want him to hold himself accountable. So what you're saying, is it fact or is it opinion? And if it is fact, what are your sources? Like, I want him to do that too. But I understand that we're different. That's okay.
I mean, I'm usually, we talk about this all the time. Usually, like, when I come to a conclusion on something where, I got a lot of passion or a lot of energy behind it, it's like a lot of different dots connected. You hear me say that often. Like, okay, the dots connect and this makes sense because of that. And it's not always easy to explain because you're explaining like 100 different dots and they all connect to make a picture. How do you express that in like your 3-minute window of a conversation that you're talking?
Right.
So normally that's why you see things like that come out through my poetry because it's dots that connected over the course of time. But I love that she does that. She holds me accountable. Like, hey, what's your source? Like, where did that come from? So it forces me to go back and try to figure out where the dot connected, or like if it's fact or if it's just my opinion. And yeah, like that just helps me grow, like overall. I really appreciate that. I've never told you that before.
See, and I thought I was being annoying. Shut up. So we decided to ask each other a random question that we just came up with or that we've gotten from someplace, and we want to see what each other's answers are without rehearsing or anything like that. So,
okay,
you want to go first?
No, I want you to go first.
Okay, so this question I got from Skin Deep, I think it's called. Okay. It's a card game called Skin Deep that I saw on Instagram. We haven't bought the deck yet, but I think for one of our videos that are coming up, we're gonna use the deck and play that for our people. So, the question is, what advice would you give yourself? What advice would you give yourself before meeting me? Like if you, yeah, go ahead, sorry.
Nah, you got more?
No, sorry. I don't think I'm saying the question correctly, but it's something like that. But that's a good question.
The advice that I would give myself prior to meeting you would be to, wow, that's a really good question. I think I would have closed a lot of doors sooner. I want to say that I would have prepared myself more, but I don't know how prepared I could have been. Like, meeting you was like, it happened and things just kind of clicked. So I think whatever I came with at that time, like, had me ready. But if I could go back and give myself advice now, I would say prepare yourself to be more emotionally available. Because I was extremely emotionally detached. And it was easy for me to do that. So that's the big thing that I would say behind that.
Okay, I like that answer.
Okay.
So what question do you have for me?
So so my question is, a lot of women they have standards and they ask for certain qualities in a man, right? What balancing qualities do you think a woman needs for the man that they're asking for?
What balancing qualities?
Yeah,
okay,
like
so
they're asking for something. What do you think they need to bring to the table?
Okay, so I think that if you're asking for a man that is, because I've noticed that a lot of women ask for men who are manly. Like, they want a strong man, they want a masculine man, they want a man that's a leader, right? So I think that in order to be prepared for a man that's a leader, you have to be willing to follow, right? So I think that submissiveness is important, but I don't think that submissiveness is one-sided.
Right.
I think that you have to submit to one another, right? So I think that breaking this male and female dichotomy, like trying to dismantle the patriarchy, like trying to understand that, yes, I want a man that leads, but I want a man who values my leadership as well. Okay. Like when the time comes, you know what I'm saying? Like I love that you don't just say, oh, I'm gonna order this for you. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, or this is just what I'm doing, and you're expected to follow what I'm doing, but I think that I don't know, I think that we should ask less for a man that is alpha, less, like, you know, and ask for a man who's willing to have less of an ego, right? So I think that even if you have a man that's a leader, I think that he should also not have an ego that makes you feel like you can't assume that position. You know what I'm saying? Like, what do you think about that?
Well, I think in terms of speaking of an alpha, I know where you come from, but I think that an alpha male really needs to be redefined. Because what a lot of people see as an alpha male today, it's completely opposite. Trust me, anything you've seen on TV or what they told you, that's not an alpha male or alpha female for that matter as well. But that's another topic. We'll discuss that more in detail. But I agree with that. I think going back to what you said about submissiveness, the definition that I learned about submissiveness is not the definition for the general public. It's like submitting to each other. We could use love language in submitting to, okay, I'm gonna wake up today and I got, a purpose. I got things that I gotta do as a man, but I still got a loving partner that requires a certain sense of love on a regular basis. So submitting to that is like, what do I do today to express love to her? And opposite for her as well, to myself. That's submitting. That's like, submitting to caring about another person while still carrying out your tasks throughout the course of the day. In a nutshell, because it can get real detailed.
Yeah, I think you just have to be willing to be on the other side of what you're asking for, right? So like, if you're asking for a man that's a certain way, you have to be willing to be the balance in that, right? So I like that question. That was good, because it made me think. It was a challenging question. It wasn't surface,
Right. What was on, like, this is what we did before we started the video. Like, all right, we're gonna ask each other a question and we don't know what it is. We're just gonna answer it on the spot. You articulated that well.
Thank you, baby. That's because I'm smart.
But, what we got, the quote next?
Yep. Boop. A word from our sponsors.
Yeah. All right. Here's a quote for you. Until you change what goes into your thinking, you will always recycle your experiences. Don't know who it came from, but that's for you.
If you want to fly, you gotta let go of the shit that weighs you down. Toni Morrison. Heal and become a healer. Always becoming.